we were discussing, we had just an initial discussion on the solution of EWM, how the solution, what are the different deployment options we have, and what are the different aspects of differentiating it from the previous WM functionality, and the brief description about the capabilities of the system as compared to WM, right?
Mhm.
And we so today we'll be discussing on the integration part of the system. So first of all, this EWM system, um, it is, so what I told in the last session also is this: when it was introduced, it was a decentralized solution, and it was a part of the SCM system. The SCM system had basically two components. The one of the component was APO, and another component was EWM. So what happened
EWM.
here is, yeah, so what happened here is, even after the SAP has planned to include it in the embedded, as an embedded system where we have only one login to access both the ERP S4 information as well as the EWM information in one system, in one, under one single tenant edition. But the technology that was introduced to transfer the data between the system, that technology is still in place. That means that we have to transfer anything to EWM system, that needs to be done with the RFC connection, with sudden queues and RFC connections, normally, which is normally seen when we are interacting with some other system, like some RFC destination, remote function call, right? So
Ah,
those things are we do when we are interacting with some other system. But even if the EWM system resides in the same server, so even if it resides in the same server, in order to transmit any information to EWM system, we have to use this RFC connections. For example,
RFC.
if you are working in MM module, right? So if you are want to pass some data to FI, from MM to FI, do you need any RFC connection? No, because
No.
both the modules are in the same central component. Once the MM component of that ERP sends the data to FI component, so they will be able to recognize immediately, because it is there in the same system, and there is some correlation between all this. But that is not the case in case of EWM. So you always need this, like a virtual decentralized environment. So why virtual? Because it
Mm.
is the same system, but then it is a
Mhm.
virtually it is different. You understand, right? So
Okay.
it is like one house within one house. It is housing a house within one house. So that
Okay.
is what it is, and that is the reason we have a separate. So every system will have a every client. So you must be knowing that the client, there is a client. There's something called a client, and in this client we have a unique identification of this client, through which this client will exchange data between the system. In if it is transmitting data through RFC calls, remote function, basically, if it is interacting with the other system, there will be some, even if in case of GTAs, in case of other peripherals, so it will be there will be a unique ID. It is like a telephone ID. Like I am calling you now, we are calling, we are this conversation is now happening in VoIP, right? But normally previous times when we had a number, or even if I call you from my mobile number, right? So what happens is, then this communication happens to a mobile number. So in this mobile number is like a unique ID identification of the caller
Mhm.
and the receiver. So there will be a caller and there will be a receiver. There will be a sender and there will be a receiver always. And there will be a sender ID. It is like a IP address also, you can think of. Like my computer has an IP address, your system has an IP address. So these two IP addresses are talking to each other, right? So that is the exchange of information which is happening. So every system will have a unique ID.
Okay.
Okay, so this ID is known as logical system. The technical name of that is called known as logical system. So every client
Logical.
will have a logical system. Logical system. So coming to this diagram is not a very complete diagram. So please, I'm sorry for it. So there is
No problem.
one part of it which is missing. That is the master data. Okay, so
Mhm.
this diagram shows the transactional data, but there is also a
Ah,
master data. So there are two
master.
different mechanism. So there are two different mechanism. Okay, so transfer the data between the system. The first mechanism is for
Mhm.
the master data. You must be knowing what is a master data.
Yes,
I
yes.
think you know all these things, right? I don't have to elaborate on what is a master data and what is a transactional
No,
data.
no.
So in case of master data, so what are the different master data? Like we have customer
Warehouse
master,
product
material
master.
master, all these things. Like product master is something not there in ERP. I'm thinking from the ERP perspective, from ERP
ERP,
system.
yeah.
Here ERP
Yeah.
system means what? ERP system can be an S4 system, which is an S4 HANA system, or it can be some
Mhm.
ECC system, okay, or it can be R3 system also. But then everything even together, I mean, we call it as in general term, we will be in henceforth will be using only this term, ERP system and EWM system, okay, to
Mm.
denote, I mean, the different characteristics
Oh,
between these two systems. Okay, so now this ERP system will have all these modules, right? All this data like customer master, vendor master,
vendor
shipping
master.
point, vendor master, shipping point, material master, everything, all
Master.
this
It
information
got
which are relevant for EWM. Not all the master data will be transferred is required in EWM. Only those master
mm,
data which are required to be processed within warehouse.
relevant.
Let's say, for
Mm.
example, there are some, for example, there is some profit center that is not required in EWM, right? So,
No,
so you need certain master data which are recorded in EWM. So those master data will be transferred via a mechanism called core interface. You can write down.
CIF.
So, or you can get from the recording also later on. So
Yeah, yeah.
core interface is the mechanism through which it is also known as SIF. In short, you will be
Mm. CIF.
listening, you will be
SIP.
hearing this term very often. SIF,
Yeah,
SIF this data from this system to that system.
correct.
This is a mandatory thing. So what happens in case of a embedded environment? So this SIF is done through this code interface. You have to set up an integration model to activate this core interface or activate the transfer between one system to another system. In case of an embedded environment, this integration model will already be in place.
So we don't have to do any configuration for SIF for
No, in
embedded.
case of embedded, it is there. But the configuration will be there by default. So if you want to change
Okay.
anything, you can do it. Suppose you want to change, you want to. There are a lot of things like some ALE pointers settings up there. So if you create a material master, you want to change some data, some dimension data, for example, you want to change the dimension of the material. So in that way, it will reflect immediately to the EWM system. You want that data to be. I mean, this is a very important information, right? So packing information, if it is a packaging material, so dimension will matter for EWM system. So it's essential information from EWM perspective. So that information will go and sit in the product master of EWM. Understood?
Okay. So that will go
So
through CIF.
that will go to CAP. So you can change. You can say that okay, I want some delay. Immediately it will not go. I mean, immediately it will not distribute. So I want to do it later on, something like that, which is not very standard, which is not there in standard. Then you have to change the standard config. Otherwise, the standard configuration holds good for it embedded. But in case of decentralized, you will have
Mm.
to make a conscious effort. You have to do this activity where you have to set up the integration model.
SIF.
Okay, so this is
Oh.
about SIF. Second thing, so after SIF we come to transactional data. All the transactional data
Mm.
like the deliveries, purchase order, production order, all
Sales
this
order.
transactional data, sales order also. So all this transactional data will be present in this system. The information
Mhm.
will be fetched from this system, and it will, I mean, there will be a exchange of information through queues, and these queues
Mm.
will be created by RFC calls. So there will be
Mhm.
a remote function, not all the function module. So you know what is a remote function module, right?
Not much.
Okay, so there are a
I've
lot of
heard of.
function modules. Function
Mm.
modules are there. You know function module, right?
Function module I know.
SE37.
Mm.
SE37, this transaction, there are a lot of program. It's kind of a program only. So, but
Ah,
it's a program which will be, I mean, you pass some data to it, you will have to
it will
import the
execute.
data
Yes.
to, it will export some data. So you'll have to import
Mm.
some data, it will process that data, and it will give you some export values. So that is
Mm.
called, that
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
function module. That's a standard working. But in some of the
Mm.
function module, it will be set up as a remote function module. There will be actually a flag, so that will tell you okay,
Mhm.
it's a remote function module. So remote function module is enabled with interacting with the different system, like one IP address talking to another IP address. Similarly, one function module will be talking to another function module, but in order to communicate, they need a fixed destination number which will be unique for that particular function module, right? So if you are using a ERP system, for example, so that system will have a unique ID. You got to get it. So
Okay.
another, the EWM system will have a unique ID. Then only you will be able to interact with each other.
So is T90 CL, is that a unique ID which you're talking about,
Which
or
one?
that's a logical
Yes.
system?
So T90 CLNT 090, as you can see here, this is the logical system of ERP system, which is the function module, which we will be setting it up as a destination for RFC connection. So that is like a
Okay.
phone number. So destination for
And
IC
who provides
number.
values? Who provides
Normally
these
basis will
values?
do that, but as a normally see all this configuration, normally basis does that. But having said
Mm.
that, many of the projects basis will not have much knowledge about all these things. So yeah, as a
Ah,
consultant, you will have to tell them that do all these things. Mostly in the start of the project, system will be in a really scattered state. Nothing will be set up.
mm,
So as a consultant, you have to start from the very beginning, from the scratch. Even if the
Okay.
base system is authorized to for these transactions, you are not authorized, then you have to at least have a display access, and you have to tell them that these are the things that you need to set up, or you have to share a documentation of the process to them, okay, so that
Yeah. But
they'll be able to do it.
this value, who will tell? T90, who will know this value? T90, CL10. This will be told by client or
This is purely a basic stuff. So there will be every system, every client will have a unique logical system ID.
okay,
Every
every client.
client.
Okay.
So if you suppose in your system there are 100, 200, these clients are there. So in your development, like say 100 and 200 client is there. So 100 will have a
Yeah.
logical system, 200 will have a different logical system. Every client will have
Okay.
a unique logical system. So that logical system will interact with the logical system of EWM. In EWM system, the logical system is there, but there is some additional stuff we will be discussing about that. The logical system. So now for simplification, it is just like two numbers are interacting with each other. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So coming to the next slide, here you see this plant. So what happens is this we know that the plant has two storage location. It can have two storage
Mhm.
location, but from the EWM perspective, we normally it is not that every project will use the same terminology, but they might use the same concept, even if they're not using the same term. So
Mhm.
RD means received on dock. What it
Receive.
means is anything that is getting anything which is being received from warehouse perspective, they are concerned about what are the goods which are received. Once the product is received, where to keep them. If I want to post a GR, to which storage location it will go and sit, right? So that is the concern of the warehouse from a warehouse perspective.
Mhm.
So we call it a receive on dock. So there will be a
Mhm.
normally a storage location created which is called a received on dock. Even if it is not, then also the same concept may be used, but some other terms will be present. So there will be a storage location assigned for the products which are being received, which are the inbound products. This inbound means it can be anything, right? So inbound means it can be a customer return also. It is not always the external vendor procurement. It can be anything which is coming into the warehouse. And there is another warehouse which is called as AFS. ROD is
Sale.
received on dock, and another one is AFS is available for sale. So that is
Sale.
what the where you keep the products which are like the finished products, and these are you can sell it out to the customer, ship it out to the customer. Okay. And these two storage locations are assigned to the warehouse number, which is a 3-digit warehouse number. And this
Yeah.
3-digit warehouse number is this 3-digit warehouse number. If you see this 3-digit warehouse number, it is the LE warehouse number, the same warehouse number
Yeah.
that we use in LE.
Mhm.
So in order to use EWM system, it is still EWM is still dependent on LEWM for the integration part from ERP system. If you want to distribute any data, so you have to, there is no other thing is required, only a warehouse number. Okay, you don't have to create any structural
Storage
components of
spread
like,
like that.
yes, so nothing is required, only the warehouse number is sufficient. At
So
least
this is a
for a 3-digit
logical
warehouse,
warehouse number, right?
it is like an interface warehouse. Some people call it an interface warehouse. In somewhere you will hear interim warehouse, okay, dummy warehouse.
Uh,
So there are
Virtual
different
kind.
names. It is not a virtual. It is not a virtual. You will not say it is a virtual. It is actually, so what happens is in the LE side, in the ERP side, these people will not have the visibility of the EWM. So EWM
Mhm.
monitor and EWM processes will be monitored by a different team. That is the normal
Uh,
assumption, that a different department or team is going to process the EWM transactions. So now this transactions which are like deliveries, in delivery, what they will see, they will not see anything which is happening in EWM. They will not see whether
mhm.
the product is unloaded. All this information will not be there in the delivery. What they will see is that this is going to some decentralized environment. 3-digit warehouse will be populated, and they can see that okay, this is a warehouse, which means that this is going to some decent, this is not in our box, it has gone out of our box. Once that process will be done from their end, then only we can process next. Once the GR or GI will be posted from their end, then only we can
Mhm.
process the next steps. So that is something. And then there is EWM system. So EWM system is the 4-digit. So there is a difference. So in previous LE
Uh,
version, the warehouse number was 3-digit. In EWM,
88.
a 4-digit is allowed. That doesn't mean that you cannot have it 3 digits. But the maximum allowed is like 4 digits, alphanumeric.
Okay.
Okay, so there are certain things. Before coming to this slide, I don't know whether these slides are there or not. I will take you to the integration slides. Okay, this is the delivery which has been distributed, and I'll try to use the same warehouse maybe. Or let's create a new warehouse by copying this particular thing. The first thing in the system when you set up the EWM, this thing
Uh,
is your SM59 connection. So
mhm.
I will be discussing about the basis connection now.
Can you show me the basic things for connectivity which we
Yes, so
discussed in the
these are
slide?
these are the things that you need to know. As a consultant, you will be required to come here very often. When the project is streamlined, if you were working on a support project or something, then probably this will, you don't have to bother about it. You don't even, we won't even have access to this transaction many times. But if you are in a development project where things are not in, I mean, you're just starting from very scratch, then you will have to set up everything here.
What is the transaction name?
SM59.
And what is the use of this transaction to set up the base connectivity, like logical
So,
system, those things?
yes, so you have to set up the above connections, which is the logical system connections setup. So, every client will have a logical system, as you can see in SCC4. In SCC4, or you can go to the client table also, T000, I think, T000, I think, client table. Okay, so this table will show you the logical system assigned to each and every client. Okay, so if you go to this, they see this logical system is assigned. So every client in this system, there are so many clients, 3 4 5 6 clients are there. Okay, and this 6 client, out of this I'm using 400, and in this 400 client there is this logical system which is assigned.
Okay, this is for the EWM.
No, this is not EWM, this is the client, this is ERP.
Oh, ERP. Okay.
So you can use this client to not only to EWM, you can distribute like GTS and other modules you must have heard of, right? These modules, they do the distribution from this logical system only. Anything which is being distributed from the system will have a sender ID. This will be the sender ID. Okay, so now how to set up this? So when you say that there is a logical system, then you have to also set up a destiny RFC connection. You have to set up the connection for the logical system that we do here. Okay, so the first thing that we do here is ERP CLNT 400, right? So ERP, there will be some connection with the same name. Normally they keep the same name for simplification. Everywhere you will see the same name only. So the logical system will be set up as the RFC destination.
Achha.
And in this, you will have several things like technical setup. You will have logon and civil. Normally there will be an ID. Here the password is initial, so there is no password. But normally there will be a interface user which will be assigned. So this user will be created by the authorization team, and this user will be authorized to distribute the data between the systems. Okay, and you have to create an user ID and password here for this. In this technical setup, you will have to do the load balancing. You can do the load balancing if you want to available, make the systems available all the time, or there is very high volume, you can do that. And the most important thing is that when you go to the connection test, it should show that the connection is up and running. If it is up and not up and running, that will show you red. I don't know why it's taking so much of time.
This is a sandbox which
Yeah, this is the one, right? So did you get access to it?
no, no,
No.
no.
Did you purchase it?
No, no, I will check with her. I think she was supposed to get it one. Okay, okay, fine, fine. No, generally sandbox system will be a bit slow. So
I don't know what about this system, but the previous training batch which I was doing, the system was really good and really fast, and I can show you the data also there. But I don't know how much time there will be. It will be allowed for me to use that system. So I set up everything in that system. So this is really I have to use multiple system. 22 millisecond is fine. So that is not a problem. So 1 2
hmm,
millisecond doggone is 22 millisecond. It is a bit more, but then it is there is no issue with this. Normally you will see some around more than 100 millisecond, or it is taking very long, then
hmm,
it will be coming in red. So you will see that the
hmm.
connection test will has failed. So this is one way of testing whether your connection is up and running.
So
And
this
then
will
your
always already be pre-configured. Sorry to interrupt. This will already be pre-configured. These two clients,
no, you have
logical
to
system.
you can add it. You can create, add, and
Create and
if
then.
you have edit access, you need to have edit access to this transaction. You can edit it. Okay,
But
so
generally, we should
normally.
take a
Hmm.
standard one, right? Because how will you know there are a lot of values, right? So which
Hmm.
value to add, which value to select?
Which, that
Will
is what I'm
function consult?
saying.
Hmm,
In the logical system SCC4, whatever the system is there, that should be here
hmm.
also. In SCC4 there is a logical system assigned to the client. It's a Unix system, and
Okay.
this needs to be assigned here also. ERP CLNT, the same system here also.
So we don't have to assign that. It will already be in there in
It,
SM59,
by
right?
default it is assigned, but some of the times people will delete it, because the delete option is also there, right? It should not be
Oh.
deleted, it should never be deleted. It's a standard, but I've seen people doing all this thing while working on many projects, especially on working on the start of the project, when the client is not very aware about the system and stuff. So People do this normally. Basis team will think then why this is required. They will go and delete it. So what is this? Now this is like a dummy system. So this is a real one because this particular client is there is a logical system assigned to the client. So because
Mm-hmm.
and this is only one server. So there is this client. This is only one logon and server, and within which all the data, even the EWM data, is there in the ERP system only. As I told you, right? So because it is behaving as a decentralized environment, so you have to create a dummy for EWM, almost like as if it is a different system. So that is the reason there is not much difference whether you are using embedded or you are using decentralized. Even if you are using embedded, you have to use all these technologies, the same technology.
Oh, so this EWM, CLNT, and
Hmm.
Founded will already be pre-configured, or I just need to create by copying
You
ERP
have to create it. You have to create it. Okay.
by
So you
copying,
have to
right?
create a logical system. Yeah. So this is not a, you don't have a logical system for it in ERP. Okay. I will show you. It will come step by step. I'll be discussing everything. Don't worry about it.
Okay,
Just
this one.
now
Okay,
stick
fine.
what I'm discussing. Please stick to this particular thing. So now what happens is this EWM is this is a RFC destination that we are going to create. One. Now
Okay.
after creating, we're
Got
going to assign it in the next transaction. Now we are just creating it. So we are creating EWM 400. So this will also have the similar configuration. There will be have a ID password option inside. There will be an RFC user you can assign there. You have to test for a connection whether the system is up and running, and you have to assign a proper ID to the system. So it is very taking a very long time. I don't know.
So is it not possible for you to get the old system which you're using?
Just write down this transaction BD97.
BD97.
It's very small. It is not very small. This system, there are a lot of other systems. So normally, if you see here, it is a very long list. There will be GTS connections, and there will be not Ariba is not Ariba has a different method of connection. I don't think it is through this particular thing, but lot of other, I mean, like CRM and other modules, other systems, there will be definitely a connection for all. Now at this moment, I can see only this particular thing, right? EWM is there. So this is a
Mhm.
standard API destination. You have to assign first. You have to create the system EWM CLNT 400. Okay, and you have to assign a standard API destination as the ERP system. So
Okay.
this is
Yeah.
what you
Got
need to do. The EWM will be assigned to this. So what is the destination
BD90.
for EWM system? This is the BAPI destination. So this is the assignment that you need to do here. And if you go
Okay.
inside it, you will see the exit destination and all. So this is BD97. After
Okay.
SM59, after setting up, after creating these connections, you will assign the RFC destination in this transaction. This is very
Great.
important.
Got it. Got
Okay.
it. Got it.
So this is how the systems are integrated with each one another. So this is one something. And after this, so your initial setup, at least your client setup is complete. So the next thing that we do is let us go step by step. Okay. So
Yeah.
after that, I will go to the master data part. Sorry, in the in org structure part. And in org structure, what we do is we assign a 3-digit warehouse to the plant and storage location combination.
So first step we did SM59 where we have created logical system for ERP and EWM, and the next step is
Mhm.
BD97 where we have assigned it.
PL. Okay, let's use this because this guy has used this system very recently. I've seen it. So BKPL AFS. So this is assigned to the warehouse number, 3-digit warehouse number BKW.
Mhm.
So let me create some other warehouse. So what we need to do here, we have to create a 3-digit warehouse for
Yeah.
for us.
Define warehouse.
I don't know whether this system, this will be the final system that will be assigned. This will be given to us. So let me go into some other system. Okay. Okay, so this is the system that I used previously. Okay, so in the assignment, you will see in the logistics execution. So I have assigned the warehouse, 3-digit warehouse. Okay, so I have used this plant with this and the storage location combination to my 3-digit warehouse. So this is the
Mhm.
first assignment that I need to do. Okay, and one of this warehouse, one of the storage location, I have mentioned it as AFS. One of these, this is ROD.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the first point. And the second thing, after doing this, you'll have to directly go to logistics execution, EWM integration, and basic setup of connectivity, and configure EWM specific parameter. Okay.
Okay.
So are you following me? This can take a screenshot also if you want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that is fine. In logic execution, they have given this node now.
So now you have to configure this EWM specific parameter, and this 3-digit warehouse must be opened up for transfer for distribution.
Transfer.
So this is the
Triple
3-digit
S.
warehouse, and I have opened it up for. So in this, So in this, there are several columns, and the first column is the three-digit warehouse number. After
Mm-hmm.
that, there is an external warehouse management. So what type
Mm-hmm.
of a warehouse management, external warehouse management, do we intend to do here? There are several options. You can use it for a decentralized. Decentralized means it is
Mm-hmm.
going to some decentralized environment. It
But
may not be EWM. So if you are using EWM, that means it's a
embedded,
it will go to EWM system. Yes, so it will go to EWM
embedded.
system, embedded
Mm-hmm.
EWM system. And local WM means, you know, that local WM is the
Yeah,
LEWM only. Okay, so this is normally it will be a local WM only. When you create it, by default it is a local WM, so you have to change it to EWM. And then in the
local W
distribution
means
mode,
the normal warehouse
local
management, right?
WM is
Which we
the
do.
LEWM. Yeah, so if you create a
LN,
three-digit warehouse, yes, so it will go to LEWM. So that means you are using LEWM,
normal W.
normal WM. And if you say it's a decentralized, it can be any system. It can be some non-SAP
Um,
system also, which is going out.
yeah, yeah, that I,
We don't
yeah,
know which
any system,
what it is, any system.
anything.
Distribution mode, it can be a distribution immediately or a stop distribution. So normally we do it at distribution immediately. In there are some special business scenarios where there is a special business where they want to stop the movement of the products. Whenever the deliveries are created, they don't want to process it immediately in the warehouse. Maybe there is some sudden legal regulation or some
Mm-hmm.
time for cooling off or something for that is required in for some time.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, only after a specified time gap, they will be manually processing these two warehouse, manually distributing in these two warehouse. So if
Means
that
through
kind
some
of process is
transaction.
there through some transaction, the transaction is VL06I. Okay, VL06
Yeah,
VLOK.
yeah.
So
Delivery.
that so what happens is you can distribute it later on, or there may be some custom transaction also people do. I mean, the mini project there,
Yeah, yeah.
but normally we do not use that. Okay, normally we do not.
Hmm.
Normally we use the immediately option only.
Exactly.
And there is some unchecked deliveries. Unchecked delivery means there are deliveries which are we does not have any reference to any previous document, like any purchase order or meaning direct deliveries. If we create a delivery directly without reference to any preceding document, then these are known as unchecked deliveries, and whether these deliveries are allowed in EWM. Normally
Hmm.
EWM system will only handle if something is coming from, for example, is a customer delivery, or it is coming from a vendor, it's coming from a purchase order, STO, sales order, all those things, production order, process order. But if we want some deliveries to be directly distributed, so for example, MB, the initial entry of the stock balance, okay, 561.
561.
So it is kind of an unchecked delivery. So it will directly go and sit. So if you're directly creating it from, so if you're creating the transaction from Migo, then it will create a
Hmm.
delivery. Okay, there is another way of creating W561 without creating a delivery also, that I will cover later in the course. No problem. So so batch determination, whether you want to determine the batch in, so EWM system will not be able to create batches. That is a thumb rule. But EWM, having said that, so EWM system will be able to determine the batches. And if the batch determination technique of EWM is different from the LE system, then we have to set a new batch determination rule in EWM. You can use it.
So you mean to say EWM cannot create
Hmm.
batches on its own.
No.
So from LE only it will get distributed.
Yes, so because this warehouse is will be handling the batch. Why they need to create a batch? The batch is
Hmm.
created when the production happens, and when the, in the other module, like the
GRI.
BP module or the MM module. Okay, so they will be actually the owner, they will have the ownership of all those
Hmm.
transactions. EWM,
Got.
why they need to create a batch in EWM? They simply have to maintain the batch, and they have to check the SLED. They will have to do the FIFO, LIFO, all these strategies. That is on in something that we can do in EWM. Creation of batches and maintenance of batches not there in EWM. Okay, so the EWM system normally it deals with a lot of foreign data which are coming from SD, all the sites. EWM people, they will just manage the inventory, right? So that is the
Hmm.
basic thing here. GR for EWM. So if you post a GR for EWM, it will not travel back to your ERP system. So it will not reflect to ERP system. Whether it doesn't mean that if you give this indicator, it will do that. So there is a separate transaction where you can post a GR in EWM system, physical GR. So if you do that transaction, then what happens is the GR will be posted. You will see in the delivery the GR is posted, but it will not be posted in ERP system. There are
So
communication method. There is a queued and serialized asynchronous. Asynchronous normally is always the better option. So I think there should be some other communication method. I don't know whether only one method is coming here. There is some synchronized option is also there. So synchronized option we do not use. Asynchronous means what? You know what is the difference between a synchronous and asynchronous transfer?
No, no.
Synchronous means so that the if you are distributing the data of 10 different deliveries, okay, so the system has to determine how the data is distributed. So if one delivery data, after distributing one delivery data, the next delivery data will be distributed, and after
Mm-hmm.
that is distributed, then the third delivery data will be distributed. So that
Okay.
is known as asynchronous. That method is known as
I see.
asynchronous. And if
Okay.
you want to distribute parallel transfer, like a parallel transfer, all the parallel delivery that will distribute, that will be synchronous. So synchronous method is
Okay.
it will take less time, but it might create a lot of queue errors, because if there is some
Clear.
kind of correlation between these two deliveries, so they are using the same shipment, for example, there is a shipment module also outside EWM. So there are a lot of things which may be common between these two deliveries, and if the one functionality is using the other functionality, then it will create error in the queue transfer. Delivery change, whether you are able to change the delivery. Even if you take the delivery change, one thing here to notice: the moment you transfer to EWM system, the moment you distribute the delivery to EWM system, it will be non-editable. You can't edit
Yeah.
it anymore unless and until the follow-up action has been the action of EWM is completely done. Okay, because the
Mm-hmm.
physical stock is not in the ERP, physical stock is with the EWM in the warehouse, so they will be at the ownership of those stock. So they will process it completely, and their information will come to ERP system, and then we'll be able to see it. Okay, then there is a serial number if you want the serial numbers management in EWM system. Okay.
I have a doubt here. I did not understand a GR for EWM. You mean to say GR will get posted in EWM but not reflected in
Yes,
ERP? But if the GR is not reflected in ERP, won't it get mismatch of stocks? Because what I know that
that's
whatever
right.
GR thing is happening in ERP,
Hmm.
EWM, that gets posted in
Hmm.
ERP
Hmm.
as well.
Why it is required? I am not
For
bothered
balances.
about what if I am not bothered about what is the ERP system. I don't even have a ERP system. Suppose it's a 3PL warehouse, 3PL provider. They want to see in their system that the GR has been posted. They are not even using module. They are not using purchase order. My only concern is that I will pack, I will unload the item from the truck. Suppose there is a third party in our company, in the warehouse, there is a third party who will only unload the product and pack the product, and after that they will put it inside the warehouse. If that particular party is using this system, so they are not bothered about whether the GR is happening in ERP. They don't even have the ERP system, right?
Okay, which means there's no integration between ERP and EWM.
No,
Standalone
they
third
don't
party.
need. Why they need to maintain that accounting information and all? It is not their ownership. Their only
No, no, I
concern
mean,
is whether the GR has happened or not.
so I mean to
It's
say
a different company. It's like an outsourced firm. I have outsourced that process to someone else. So they'll be like a 3PL. 3PL are the third party providers inside the warehouse. Okay, so they will not be working on the entire process. They'll be only working in the parts of the process. Only some part of the process will be owned by them. So if they are only working on the unload and these operations like deconsolidation operation, unload operation, so they will be like I have a five. My warehouse has 5 buildings. Okay, so these 2 buildings I have given to someone else to process. These 2 buildings, my stock is only there, but some other company, third party, is going to operate all the process there. So they're going to do all the product movements. They're going to do oiling, greasing, whatever the activities are there, right? Stickering, leveling, all these activities are normally they do. A lot of warehouses operate in that mode only.
that I
So,
understood, but my question is,
hmm,
won't that third
hmm.
party system be integrated with some ERP system? So like for tallying accounts and all.
Why they need an
For that,
ERP system? Why they need to manage? Who will manage that system? They don't have the staff to manage the ERP system. Why do they want to manage that system? Because their concern is
okay.
only packing, and they will only unload the product from the truck. Their concern is to unload the product from the truck. Whether the GR has been posted there in the system, they are not responsible to manage the stock and everything. They will,
Okay.
if it is required, if required, then they will pass on this information to the other system. If the actual system, actual warehouse, they are using another SAP system, then there will be an integration method. Then we can have an
IDOCS.
integration, right?
Okay.
So there can be idoc, there can be interfaces, we can think of several thousands of things. But just now imagine there is a subset, very a subset of the process where I am working as a third party provider, and I have a warehouse. I am not managing any accounts. My only concern is I'm getting paid for my task. Every day I do the task and I'm getting paid for that. Whatever the effort sheet I need to send them, and they will pay me. Okay, may pay my staff. And my concern is to just I have to unload the products. I'll have to keep the products inside the warehouse. It's all the maintenance work that I own. Basically, the processes, I own the process, but I don't own the products.
But if I want to
So
reflect that and in ERP, then I need to have it unticked, right?
if I want to reflect that, then that is not only my concern, right? There'll be two parties involved, right? In that case, I cannot reflect that in ERP because I don't own the ERP. I don't even have the access to the ERP system. So what will happen? So the ERP system is a different system. So some different companies owning that system, right? So different company will have
Yeah, yeah.
ownership on that system. So that there's the
No, I
two parties will have to sit together and they'll have to decide if they want this option or not. Then they will not use this option GR for EWM.
okay. Okay, I mean to say in our case, right? So embedded
Hmm.
EWM. So here I need to keep it unchecked, right? Unchecked to
Yes.
reflect in ERP.
No, you can check it also, but we are not using that functionality. Normally, we don't. I have never used this functionality, to be honest, in any of my
Okay,
projects.
you mean to say checked one, right?
You can check it. It doesn't make any difference. If you check it, if you are using the normal transactions, normally you are
Hmm.
processing in EWM, then this will not only be for EWM. It will distribute all every time. It will distribute to ERP. But there are certain
Okay,
transactions. Some swim GR. There is a transaction where you can do it only in EWM. So in that
okay,
particular
okay.
transaction only it will. So if you present that
Okay, got
transaction,
it.
then
It's
only it will
optional.
post EWM.
I got it. Optional. Okay.
It's an optional kind of thing. Yes, it's not a
Hmm.
mandatory. Okay, so
Hmm.
you can have it
Okay.
checked or not. That matters, depends on
Doesn't
you.
matter.
Okay, so after that you will have to define the queues for EWM. So
Hmm.
so there is a sender and there is a receiver. So as I said, there will be, this is a very important transaction where you we have the logical system. So always we have to create the receiver as an inbound queue. So we are receiving the inbound queue from the EWM system. So any data that is being transferred to EWM system will be an inbound data for us. So since
Hmm.
this configuration is being done in which environment? In ERP environment, in ERP system, this is getting done, right? It is not the EWM system yet. So we have not entered
Hmm.
EWM configuration. We are doing the ERP LE configuration. So in LE system, the receiver is going to be the LE system itself because the data is coming from
Alice,
EWM. So inbound, no aggregation, and this is the standard setup. Okay.
receiving and
My
outbound.
God,
And who will
has gone
provide this
slow. Step
value?
back.
The receiving ID and
Which
this one.
value? This is the logical system
Okay,
that we use.
same logical system which we saw in SM59,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
got
ERP
it.
logical system. ERP logical system. So ERP logical system you did, and after that there will be queue for transfer. After that, generate distribution model. So here what you do is this is a very famous transaction, also known as you can directly access slash sp slash ol19. So everything that I discussed about the RFC transfer between
Mhm.
the system and all. So that setup, the model of a distribution model, you have to set up here. So we have a sender and we have a receiver. And now
Mhm.
the 3-digit warehouse, you have to set up a distribution model for your 3-digit warehouse. What will distribute? Transactional data, right? So RFC means transactional data. What are the
Right.
transactional data that may be delivered is
Inbound delivery, outbound delivery.
production, receipts, etc. So logical system of SAP EWM. I think this should be the one, but I am not very sure about that. Let me check what is the logical
You
system
can
here.
check in SM.
500 and EWM. So this transaction, so you can also alternatively, this is the another extra thing I'll give you. So you can also go to another transaction, I think BD, yes, in BD64. This is the transaction where you see all the distribution models created. So if you want to delete anything, you have to come to this, you have to delete and you can create a new. Okay. So in this, you have a 3-digit warehouse number, logical system of the SAP EWM and distribution
Okay.
model view. These three things when you give, and you have to select what are the
Distribution
objects you
model you
need.
will be by default EWM. Distribution model you will be by default
No,
EWM.
distribution model, you have to create a distribution model. It can be anywhere. It can be going anywhere. It is not only EWM. I told you, right? This is like going to any system, like GTAS, other system. It is
Okay.
not only for
And
EWM.
got
This
it.
system now does
And
not know anything about EWM system because we are now
oh,
configuring in ERP
and where do we create this distribution model view, or we'll see it?
here only. If you
Okay.
give a directly model view, it will be created.
Okay. Okay. Got it. It's a free text. Okay.
So once you created inbound, outbound production material request, this will be created. So create entries. So now it is going to create these entries. Okay. So as you can see, the sender is your ERP system and the receiver is your EWM system. So you have to check whether this is also right, correctly configured. Okay. In BD97, this configuration must be correct. If you see the BD97 side by side, your BD97 system side by side. See here, so many are there, right? So it will be a lot of system will be integrated here. So S4 EWM 500, so to that is integrated with S4 CLNT 500. So the destination is the receiver is the EWM system, and the sender is, this is correct according to
Sent
this
as the
configuration.
ERP.
So I'll go ahead and create it. Once it is create, you can check the entries, but you cannot create it. You have to see, if you want to see the entries, you have to click I button, and you can see delivery change request. So these are like the different function modules.
Mhm.
These are the different function modules which will be talking to the ERP
Okay.
EWM system. Okay, so this much is understood. So after that, log
Can you
and
show me
send
the
and
node
receive
once? It
messages.
was in. Okay, can you go back? I just want to see the node. Okay, the basic setup.
Which node?
Okay, distinction. This one only. Okay, I got it.
Within the basic setup
It's
only everything is there. I'm not gone out of this.
okay.
Fine.
Okay.
So now coming to this, now once that is done, the next thing that we'll be discussing is the interfaces. Now I'm coming to the SCM system. SCM system, right? In SCM system, we have to create a warehouse number, 4-digit warehouse number, which I have already created. But I will go again when I will be discussing the warehouse. But now I'm only discussing the interface, how the interface. So what happens is when there is a distribution from the ERP system, okay, in the interfaces, you have to go to ERP integration, goods movements. Okay, so goods movement, this is within this particular node. Have you note down this node? It's very
Yeah, yeah,
important.
yeah.
From interface perspective, I think this is the single most, I mean, this is not the single most. There are many other things which has its relevance, but this is something you need to understand clearly. So that your this is one of the things that is very important from an
Mm-hmm.
interface point of view, and to understand the org structure and the setup in the EWM system also. So before going to the org
Okay.
structure, I wanted to cover this particular configuration here. This is not exactly, I'm not following the exact order that you see in any configuration document, because your understanding and the order of the configuration may not be the same. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so sequence of your understanding is the first we have created what we have did created the org structure from the ERP perspective. So plant
Mm-hmm.
storage location assigned to a 3-digit warehouse. We've activated the 3-digit warehouse, and in this configuration what we are trying to do is we are creating an interface, and in this we have to map the storage location. And in this you will see different columns are there. The first column
Mm-hmm.
is plant, second is the storage location, third is the logical system. When we say logical system, this is the ERP logical system.
Okay.
This is the ERP logical system. Okay, and
Okay.
after that there is a 4-digit warehouse number. I'll show you how to create this. This is actually the EWM warehouse. Okay,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, got it.
and there is something called an availability group. So I want to discuss this availability group concept here. So this is a new concept which was not there in ERP. So this is something which is unique to EWM system, because EWM system is working with the different parties and different company codes. EWM system can be one of the things is very important, very interesting about EWM system is it can work on a cross company code basis, which I told you earlier also. It can handle data from different company codes. So it
Mm-hmm.
is important that, and in the EWM system, we don't have anything called storage location. There is nothing called a plant. There's nothing called a storage location. Then how do we understand? Suppose there is a goods receipt in EWM. So how do you understand which storage location and plant that stock belongs to? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that for that there is a in the back end there is something called availability group. So availability group is nothing but it's a combination of the plant and storage location. As simple as that.
Okay.
It's just a determinant. It will determine a combination between the plant and storage location. And so a sudden availability group means this product is assigned to the sudden availability group. In turn, this product will be assigned to a stock type. So every in the end user will not see the availability group. It is only for the
Mm.
consultants, only for the configuration.
Consultant.
So we are assigning this availability group, and this availability group will be assigned to a stock type, and this stock type
Mm.
will be seen in the stock. So by the stock type, the users who will see the stock will understand to which storage location the stock belongs to which plant and storage location the stock belongs to.
So stock types
So
are unrestricted quality block are the same stock types.
I'll be coming to that next. Okay. So
Okay.
now stock type is the next topic. Just to make you understand, I told you
No
stock type.
problem.
Okay.
I
Okay.
have a question
So
here. So,
I'll
for example,
hmm, hmm,
here we have only two store locations. In case I'm creating multiple
hmm.
store locations, then my availability
There will
group will
be
also increase.
you have to create multiple availability group, but you cannot create assign one availability group to the same combination of the plant and storage location.
The primary key. Okay,
So I'll go
got
to
it.
my, and one important thing is you cannot simply add a new modify an entry here. You have to delete, come back again, enter the transaction, and have to add another. Like that, this transaction is. So normally, if you
Could
want to create a, you cannot
you
edit.
means select and delete I can't do.
No, delete you can do. You can delete the
Hmm.
data. So the best thing is to delete the data. What is the plant? Okay, the plant is KNNP, I think. So these are the two I have created. Okay, these two entries I have
Hmm.
created, and these two entries have a disposal. As you can see, there is a disposal party assigned to. This is actually the vendor, or yeah, this is the
Hmm.
vendor actually. Okay, and this vendor will be assigned to the plant. KNNP will be assigned. This is the vendor for the plant actually.